Okay, here we go. It's everybody's favourite question. Number 4. Using crotchets, write one octave ascending of the harmonic minor scale that begins on the given note. There's loads of stuff here. So we want one octave ascending, so only going upwards, of the harmonic minor scale. That's that particular flavour of the minor scale that begins on the given note. Do not use a key signature. We haven't had to use a key signature yet. I like drawing key signatures. This is a shame. Soon someone might ask me to use a key signature, but write in all the necessary accidentals. Okay, cool. So first of all, we've got to work out what this note is. We've got a bass clef here, so we've got to work out what note this is. It's just sitting there below the bottom line of the staff, and of course the bass clef lines go, "Good boys deserve fresh apples." So if that's the case, and this is G, then the note just underneath, on this sort of space underneath the staff, is going to be an F, and we've got this sharp here. So we've got this thing F sharp, and we need to work out what sharps and flats we're going to need for F sharp minor. Now the way we do that is, of course, working out the relative major, because that'll give us an idea as to what would be in the key signature if we were to put one in. We don't actually have to. In fact, we can't put one in here. But if we know what the key signature is, we're going to know what sharps and flats we need to have. So again, circle of fifths is going to totally help us out, because it will show us that the relative major of F sharp minor is A major. And it would also tell us that the key signature for A major is an F sharp, a C sharp, and a G sharp. So let's just remember that. We need to keep that in mind. So we're going to need F sharp, G sharp, and C sharp to make this scale work. And so I'm going to get on with writing in my blobs. Again, one note on every line and space. I'm going to try and space them out, but I'm going to fail miserably as usual. But that's okay. You know, these things happen. And try and get a nice even spacing between my notes of the scale. And there we've reached F in the bass clef, because of course every green bus... No, good boys deserve fresh apples. That's the 5 lines of the bass clef. So this fourth line up is F for fresh, and so that's the end of our scale. So we just need to draw in our stems. As you can see, not getting any better at drawing them nice and straight or even, which is why having a ruler is quite good if you were there and doing it yourself. So there we go. Those are our notes of the scale, and one giveaway is, of course, this is going to have to be an F sharp, because it was an F sharp at the bottom, and we want this to still be an F sharp minor scale when we get to the top, so that's useful. And we also said we need to add in a G sharp and a C sharp, so let's just do that. So where's our G? Well, there's a G there. Good boys deserve fresh apples, that bottom line. And there is a C here. And we're almost done. If we do that, we've put in all of the notes of the scale, one for every letter name, and we've worked out what sharps and flats we'd need from the key signature. But of course, because it's the harmonic minor scale, we do a little bit of extra messing around with the scale to make it sound the way it does, give it that harmonic minor sound. And the way we give it that sound is to raise the 7th note by 1 semitone, and that's exactly what we're going to do here. Now it's quite interesting to have a look at this particular scale, because it raises some of the questions as to, you know, why we always make sure we have one of every letter name, even if sometimes the letter names or the notes that we choose are quite unusual. So here, for example, we've got an E. Now, if I was to say to you, you know, we need to take this E and we need to raise it by 1 semitone, you might say, well, okay, fine, we'll just make it an F. You know, that's easy enough. The note that's a semitone above an E is an F. If you look at the piano keyboard, dead easy. They're 2 white notes that are next to each other. But this makes things a little bit tricky, because you'll find that if we made that an F, then what we'll have in this scale is 2 Fs. We've got an F sharp and an F natural, because it would be the white note F, just the normal F. And also, of course, because this is F sharp minor, we'd also have F sharp. So things get a little bit more complicated, because we'd have 2 Fs and no E. So to solve this problem, even though it's not its most usual name, we call the note that's the 7th note of this scale E sharp. And what that does is it means it allows us to have one of every note, and one of every letter name, so F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, and it allows us to have that, but also raise that 7th note up a semitone. So that's the reason that this scale doesn't have an F as its 7th note, but it has an E sharp. Hopefully that is clear, and you can understand why we would do that, even though we all know that really, if we need to find it on the piano, it's going to be in exactly the same place as an F. So anyway, moving on to part B. Using crotchets, write 1 octave ascending. Same thing, obviously really enjoying the ascending scales in this particular exam. Of the major scale that begins... No, beings again. Goodness me, these people. Sorry, these papers are really good. But spell check, well, spell check wouldn't have got that one. Anyway, moving on. That begins on the given note. Do not use a key signature. Again, don't get to show my key signature knowledge, but write in the necessary accidentals, which is, okay, cool. We can do that. So, we've got this note here, well, treble clef, so it's going to be an E flat. That bottom line, every good boy deserves fruit, or every green bus drives fast, and that's good. So we know it's going to be an E flat, and the circle of fifths would tell us that the E flat major key signature has E flat, B flat, and A flat in it. So that's useful as well, because we need to use those later on. So let's just get our notes in. Again, this is a relatively straightforward part, because we're just going to be drawing in one note on every line and space, just like this. And of course we need to put in our E flat, because that's the name of the scale. Also put in a B flat and an A flat. And that's our scale done. I'm pretty happy with that. That looks to me like a scale 1 octave ascending of E flat major with no key signature, but putting in all the necessary accidentals. So we're making good time. Now this last part is quite tricky, probably one of the more tricky things that you might get asked to do. Writing the necessary accidentals to form a descending scale of C sharp melodic minor. Woohoo, okay. Well, we can do something straight away that's going to be very easy, is we can add in our sharp at the beginning and the end, because, well, if it's going to be C sharp, it's going to be called C sharp minor. It's going to have a C sharp at the beginning and the end of it, so that's cool. But then we're also going to have to work out what other sharps and flats we're going to need. So, good way to start with this one is, again, to work out what's the relative major, because that'll give us a clue as to the key signature that we're going to need, and that'll tell us which sharps and flats we need to put in, or it'd be sharps in this case. So, circle of fifths again will tell you that the relative major of C sharp minor is E major. Now, E major, starting to get a little bit further around the circle of fifths, so we're getting more and more sharps in the key signature. This one has an F sharp, a C sharp, a G sharp, and a D sharp. So we're going to have to find all of these and put them in. So there's a G there, so I'm going to put in my sharp there, and there's an F there, so I'm going to put that in there. And there's a D there, so I'm going to make that a D sharp as well. Now, obviously, with these minor scales, depending on the different flavors, we tend to raise or lower certain notes depending on what's going on. You remember here we had this tricky E sharp to deal with, and we sorted that out in our other minor scale. But what's going on in a melodic minor scale? Let's just remember what happens when we have a melodic minor scale. Basically what happens is, on the way up, we sharpen some notes. So on the way up, we sharpen the 6th and 7th notes of the scale, and then it turns out when we come back down, we return them to their normal way they would be if we were just going off the key signature. So because we're descending here, and we're just showing the going down part of the scale, actually it turns out we don't have to do anything to the 6th or 7th notes. So these would be the 6th or 7th notes, because we are going backwards. So if you think of it in terms of, there's 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So it would be these two notes that we'd have to think about. And if we were going upwards, we would be raising those. So we would be adding in probably a B sharp and an A sharp. But because we're going downwards, what we're going to do is cancel those out again. And because we haven't written them in, we don't even need to say anything about that. So really there's no need to make any changes to these notes, because we keep them the way they are as normal, bearing in mind the key signature. So in the key signature for this scale, there's 4 sharps, no B sharp and no A sharp, just F sharp, C sharp, D sharp, and G sharp. So as a result of that, I think this is already looking pretty good. If we were going the other way, we'd have to make a load of changes. If we were going in an ascending direction, there'd be things to change. But because we're going in a descending direction, actually this is looking pretty good as a descending scale of C sharp melodic minor. Oh, and that's the end of question 4. That wasn't so bad. We got to the end of that in one piece. I will see you for the final question, number 5, in the next video.